Hello, movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. Before we jump into this episode, I just want to take a brief minute and say that this is my 40th episode on the podcast, and subsequently also I've just passed my 3 months mark of when my podcast went live, and I wanted to just extend a very heartfelt thank you to every single person out there that has taken the time to listen to even a single episode, to all of you that subscribe to my podcast, to everyone that is jumping on and following my Instagram. I appreciate every single one of you so much. When I started the podcast, I know I said I wanted to do at least one episode a week, and I completely blew past that. I enjoy doing this so much, and it's bringing so much joy to my life. And I love, getting to hear people say how much they enjoy the same movies. If I post a specific one that they really like also, it's really just so lovely to get to connect to everyone and get to see, how many subscribers I've gotten over the last 3 months. And I just want to really kind of take a moment and thank every single one of you for being a part of this journey with me. I really, when I started it and when my podcast went live, I sort of expected for the first 6 months or maybe even for indefinitely that my podcasts would really just be me talking to myself, and that hasn't been the case. And I'm so grateful for everyone that does take the time, because I know, everyone's time is precious. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this episode. We are going to talk about episode 2 of House of the Dragon. I just finished it. I am over the moon with House of the Dragon. Let's just be honest. So, disclaimer, this is going to have spoilers. I'm probably going to do an episode for each episode of House of the Dragon, just because I am thoroughly enjoying myself with this television show and I want to be able to talk about it, but there will probably be spoilers. So if you haven't watched the second episode yet, stop, pause this podcast, go watch, come back, and, join in the conversation with me for sure. But I am blown away by this show so far. It very much is giving me like Game of Thrones vibes, the early seasons. The casting, it has just been great. I am so in love with Millie Alcock. She plays the young Rhaenyra, and I know at some point in this season they are going to speed things ahead and she will be replaced by, an older version of herself. Emma Darcy, I believe, is who is going to replace her. But I am super loving Millie as Rhaenyra. She's doing such an excellent job. So in episode 2, what we get to see is quite a lot of action going on. In the first episode, Rhaenyra's mother does pass away during childbirth. They do a C-section, and she doesn't survive, and then neither does the baby. And that obviously has been a very big shakeup to everyone in, House Targaryen. Well, in episode 2, we kind of get to see that Otto Hightower has very strategically sent Alicent, his daughter, who is the same age as Rhaenyra, they're best friends, to kind of comfort the king in his hour of need. Oh golly, is that something we've seen before? Very, political strategy kind of move there from Otto Hightower for sure. For sure. He knew exactly what he was doing. And it makes me feel kind of bad for Alicent. I think she seems to be a very sweet person, and whether or not that is the way that she stays as the show continues, I doubt it, because I know her and Rhaenyra are going to kind of butt heads and have some moments there. But to kind of see how sweet she is with the king just after, he's lost his wife, and she knows, she's not stupid, she knows what her dad is doing and what is going on. And it's just one of those moments where you just kind of see how the men sort of use their children to get themselves into greater places of power. And we're seeing it in other areas as well, because we've got quite a few more characters that have stepped into it. Corlys is also kind of being the same way, right? So he puts his daughter, who I want to say is maybe 10 or 11 years old at this point. She's quite young. He puts his daughter up saying, like, join the houses together, House Valerian and House Targaryen, and let's be a great kingdom again, and, marry my kid. And there is a super, super awkward moment in this episode where the king and this tiny little girl, this like little 10-year-old, are trying to get to know each other to see whether or not they're going to get married. And it is uncomfortable, and it is uncomfortable for a reason. But the hard part of it is that these are things that I feel like are kind of uncomfortable, even though House of the Dragon is a completely fake series. These are things that did happen, like these political, fathers using their daughters and sons as pawns is what happened for sure in all of like the royal houses of our own modern age. So, it's not just a fantasy book idea that's coming out of it. And I feel like that, is an interesting way to be able to view things in the case of it being a fantasy, right? So that you can kind of distance yourself and go, oh gosh, like I wonder what that would have been like in real life to be put in that position. And we also, in this same episode, get to see Daemon Targaryen. You don't actually get to see him. And so I feel like they must have cut it out of this episode, because I could swear that they showed it in the trailer, Daemon sneaking in to take one of the dragon eggs. And you don't see him physically doing that, but you do get to hear about it. There's an emergency meeting that's called with all of the High Council, and it's told to the king, that Daemon has snuck in and like stolen this dragon egg. And the egg that he takes, he's like, I'm going to marry my mistress and she's pregnant and I need a dragon egg to be in the bed with my baby. And so I've taken one, right? And you find out that the dragon egg that he took was actually Rhaenyra, the same egg that had been placed in the crib for Rhaenyra's little brother, who, had passed away. And so it's like a double blade to the chest, right? So not only has she lost her mother, but now Rhaenyra kind of gets to hear that her uncle has betrayed the family in this way by taking the dragon egg that was intended for her brother. And so Otto Hightower, of course, has to go. He's trying to take this dragon egg back. And Daemon is like essentially 2 fingers to the wind, right? Fuck you. Like, take it from me. His dragon comes up, over the side of this cliff. He's like, take it if you dare, right? Come on, best me and my dragon, and let's see what you've got. And this is where I feel like Millie, I absolutely adore her rendition of how she's playing Rhaenyra, because it is such a nod. It is such a nod to Emilia Clarke and Daenerys. Like, you definitely see where Daenerys gets that like fiery, she got it from Rhaenyra for sure. For sure it's there. Because Rhaenyra kind of comes out of the clouds on her own dragon, and she's like, look, if you want to be king, the way that you do that is you take my life. So kill me right now or give me that freaking dragon egg. And he gives it back to her. She just is so bold and so brave. She's just a kid, really. Like, I mean, I know that she's probably obviously old enough to get married, because we see Alicent announced that the king is going to marry her at the end of this episode. So obviously she's old enough to be married. I want to say she's probably 17, 18. It would be my guesstimate of how old the two of them are meant to be at this point. But it's just incredible to see her standing up and going, listen, if you want me to be queen, I will be queen, and I will, make these choices that are the right choices to get this dragon egg back without starting a war and without having there be bloodshed. And she does, her portrayal of Rhaenyra is just blowing my mind. She's doing such a great job of it. And everyone so far, like, I don't think there is a single character that I haven't enjoyed watching. And I'm so stoked to see what's coming down the line. Like, we're episode 2 and I am hooked. I am hooked in. They've got me for sure. So, this is how you do that kind of stuff. I mean, it's amazing to me just how this show is coming off, because I know at the beginning when they announced wanting to do House of the Dragon and they announced wanting to do some other series related to Game of Thrones, that there were a lot of people that came forward, you know, in the fan base saying, like, don't even bother. The way that you ruined Game of Thrones, or the way that it ended in not a great fashion, like, there's no way that you can pull this off, and just forget it. And, you know, we're not going to watch another series that's going to disappoint us in the end. And it's too early, I think, to say whether or not House of the Dragon is going to, you know, end in a way that makes everyone happy, because we're only 2 episodes into the first season. But so far, I really think they did it. Like, I'm loving it. I'm loving seeing the dragons. And I really kind of went into House of the Dragon figuring that I was going to watch a show that was just just show me the dragons. I'll watch for the dragons. But it's actually really good. It makes me pretty sad, honestly, that this takes place, you know, per the television show, 183 years before the birth of Daenerys Targaryen. I feel like it would have been so amazing to see Rhaenyra and Daenerys on screen at the same time. Can you imagine? Like, can you imagine? They would take over the world. Like, they could do it for sure, the two of them together. And her ancestry, like, you definitely see where Dany gets her fire, and how she pulled off everything that she did, you know, in the beginning seasons of Game of Thrones. I think it's just, I am so in for the ride of House of the Dragon, and I cannot wait for the next episodes. I really wish that this was one of those, like, Netflix, they just dropped every single one of them so that I could binge it in like 4 minutes, because I would do it. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by House of the Dragon. The costuming, the sets. I mean, gosh, just when Rhaenyra came out of the clouds, they're all up on kind of this walkway, I want to say. And she comes up out of the clouds and, like, lands on, I mean, epic. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. They've done such great work with the cinematography and just how the shots are set up. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see where this goes, and, you know, future seasons of House of the Dragon. So yeah, definitely looking forward to episode 3. I'm, like, just antsy for it. So let me know what you guys think so far of House of the Dragon. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. I appreciate everyone that does, and I hope to see you in the next episode.